Am I the a-hole for spending money, saved for an engagement ring on a tattoo? A bit more than a month ago, my now ex broke up with me out of the blue. I do not want to go into the details of the relationship or the breakup, but we had been talking about marriage before the breakup. We had settled on the wedding bands and an engagement ring. I am by no means well off and arguably live paycheck to paycheck, but I manage to always pay my bills, save money, and budget money for fun concerts, fancy dinners, trips to Renaissance fairs, conventions, rallies, random events, etc. While still doing all this, I managed to put aside several $1,000s for the engagement ring she wanted. After the breakup, I decided to spend that money on myself. I bought myself my favorite bourbon, a case of my favorite cigars, and finally finished a large tattoo sleeve I have been having worked on for 2 years. The issue came when I started casually seeing a young woman, let's call her Dee. I knew Dee before I met my ex, but we were more acquaintances than anything else due to life circumstances, and honestly because I only had eyes for my now ex from the moment I first met her. However, we knew enough about each other for her to be familiar with the fact that I am not one to just casually throw money around. Since this money was not budgeted for anything, well, not since the breakup, and let's be honest, I am heartbroken, I have been a lot more willing to just say, forget it, and spend money. Tonight I met Dee for dinner and drinks, and during the drinks part of the evening, she noticed my fresh ink and jokingly asked me if I had gotten promoted or won the lottery. When I explained to her where this money had come from, she got really serious and told me that spending it like that was disrespectful. That I had saved that money for something beautiful, and by wasting it, it proves I never cared about my ex. Dee ended up leaving me at the bar, where I am currently typing this up, because she was upset with me. Maybe it is the fantastic cocktails blurring my judgment, but am I the a-hole for spending my money? Am I the a-hole for planning to keep money from my share of my parents' apartment? Hi, that is a burner account, for obvious reasons. I try to keep it short. Backstory. I, 24 female, had a pretty crappy childhood. Even though I was never hungry, I was the unwanted child wearing second-hand clothes, and everything I owned was hand-me-downs. My last memory of my father was when I was around 6 or 7. My parents were screaming at each other, and that was the last time I saw my father. My mother already had a new partner, and not long after giving birth to the long-awaited son, he got everything: name-brand clothes, new phones, and even if my parents wanted to say no, he cried and still got what he wanted. Today, I live in a rental apartment in Tallinn, Estonia, and my mother sometimes calls me. I sometimes visit if I want to see my friends still in my hometown. Quite recently, my brother, 17, told me that our mother and his father bought a house. They are going to sell the apartment, and even though most of the money from selling the place will go to renovating the house, they will buy him a car, BMW, for his 18th birthday. I pretended that I was happy for him, not his fault he was spoiled. It hurt me, I never got even a new bicycle. A few weeks later, my mother called me and told me she was sad to inform me that my father had passed away quite some time ago. She wanted to contact him about selling the apartment and found out that he is no longer with us. His sister will send the death certificate from Finland, his home country he went back to. No wonder I never found anything about him. My mother found a buyer for the apartment, and when she sent the death certificate to the notary, they informed her that there was a will made by him leaving everything he owned in Estonia to me. They did not inform me before, as they had no information about the death. Suddenly, I owned 50% of my parents' apartment, as they got it together way before I was born. Mother explained to me that I should gift my share to her, as he paid no child support and she raised me alone. Which is not even true, my stepfather was there my whole life. I told her that I might use my share as a down payment for my own home in Tallinn. Suddenly, both my brother and mother are mad at me. When I pointed out that my brother bragged about a car, my mother explained to me how I am an adult now living my own life, and I should not expect my parents' support at the age of 24. When she was my age, she was completely independent. Taking 50% would mean they cannot even finish all the renovations they started in the house. My brother keeps sending me messages that I am selfish and do not care that it was his home too. They are really mad at me. I am not asking for advice. I will take my 50%. I am asking if that makes me an A. Am I the a-hole? This is your money, not hers. You are not taking it from her. She is trying to steal it from you. What was she going to do if your father was still alive? She would have to pay that 50% to him. And that line about your dad never paying child support. Child support is for the child, not the parent. Poor planning on her part is not your problem. And your brother not getting a BMW, boo-flipping who? Do not give them 1 red cent, not the a-hole. Am I the a-hole for forcing my in-laws into a smaller space for their larger family? So this story is about my family, husband, me, and our 2-year-old, and his brother's family, brother-in-law, sister-in-law, and 3 teens aged 18, 16, and 13. We are at Disney this week. We arrived today with our camper and rented another one from the resort. When we got here for check-in, we were told the other camper was set up, got the keys, and were shown some features. It was small, I think 25 feet, with the only privacy being the master bed. There is a bunk, and the dining table folds into a bed. We set up our camper, 40 feet toy hauler, and I am in the middle of putting out linens, opening up the back porch for my toddler to play, and getting his space set up sleeps in the garage area when the in-laws roll up. We all greet each other, and my husband shows them their camper. Immediately they start with, "This is not big enough. We are going to have issues. We really do not like this" comments. Now we paid for the camper rental, the spots, the tickets into the park, and for some upcoming dinners they wanted reserved. My husband goes into a panic, and they walk into our camper and say, "Let's just stay here and you guys take the little one." I said no, that was not going to work because our bed in the master is specifically for my back. They went on about how they cannot afford Disney, and it is really disappointing that all we rented was a small trailer for all of them to fit into without regards to their comfort. I came back with, "It is only for sleep for your family." I do not know if my son is going to be overwhelmed, and having a familiar space for him to play and relax from the noises and crowds is why we brought ours. And they stormed out calling me an a-hole and asking my husband why he married me. He came back to me with the fact that we do not need all of the rooms since it is just 3 of us, and they have 5, and all are basically adults. So I asked a simple question. Then I get access while you guys are at Disney to be in here and relax. Ours has a TV and a porch with barriers for the toddler to play outside in an enclosed area. Also, his toys are in here. And they said it is their private area, so no. So I said no again. My husband called me an a-hole and said our son can survive a week without toys and the porch area, etc. Am I the a-hole because I do not want to sacrifice my own comfort to appease them, especially since we have paid for this entire trip? The only part they had to pay for was to get here, and they flew, with some assistance from my husband, because I threw a fit about that. Am I the a-hole? Am I the a-hole for turning away my partner's grandparents when they showed up unannounced? My partner and I had twins in February. We are currently living in her parents' neighboring house because they acquired it after the neighbor passed away, and we are renting and renovating it with them. We have set clear boundaries that we do not want surprise visitors, and we would like it if they only came over once or twice a week so we can have some privacy. Today, my partner's dad texted her while she was trying to nap, letting her know that her grandmother, his mother, had shown up at their house unannounced. We appreciated the heads up, and she continued with trying to rest, as the twins were finally fed, changed, and no longer being fussy. About 10 to 15 minutes later, her phone starts ringing, and I see it is her dad. I answered, and he let me know her grandma and grandpa were walking over. I told him I would turn them away as everyone was finally sleeping and it was not a good time. He said, "You should not do that because it will start a fight." I said, "Oh well, it is not a good time." Her grandparents rang the doorbell twice during that phone call, almost back to back, waking her and one of the boys up. I told her to just keep sleeping, I will deal with it. I answered the door and her grandma could tell I was exhausted because she asked if we were sleeping. I said, "Yes, we all are." She said, "Too bad," and tried stepping towards the door. I pulled it shut a little more so it was barely open enough for me and told her, "No, it is not a good time." They have not been sleeping well, and I do not want them waking up since they're finally asleep. She pretended she was okay with it and parted ways. A few minutes later, my partner called her dad with the boys screaming in the background, telling him we turned them away. He did what he usually does when he is mad and kept giving short, 1 or 2 word replies. Then, after she was done talking, he blew up, talking about how he is going to have to deal with her grandma being upset now, and saying something like, "I might as well freaking broadcast your damn rules to everyone to not show up unless they call ahead." Along with some other stuff I did not catch as I was in the other room. She started crying, said bye while he was still yelling, and hung up. Now I feel like I should not have told her grandparents to come back another day, because her dad apparently cannot deal with his mother's, or his own, emotions, and it would have been easier to just deal with them coming in and disturbing the peace that we had just managed to establish. So, am I the a-hole for turning them away? Should I have just dealt with them coming in for a little while? Well, you know where father-in-law learned his behavior, just like his mom. Send out a broadcast to all family. We are dealing with newborn twins. Visitation is by advance notice only. Anyone who arrives without requesting a visit will be turned away at the door. Depending on your mood, you can add something about time out for drop-in guests. Add that dealing with twins is difficult and exhausting. As a family, our children's needs come first. Optional, and we do not have the bandwidth to deal with people who cause issues for us because they could not text about a possible visit. Let father-in-law pout and disconnect your doorbell. We did this, and put up a sign that says baby's sleeping. Do not knock. Not the a-hole congratulations, and invite over relatives or friends that will cook, clean, and help with laundry. It is wonderful as a parent. You enjoy sharing your children with helpful people, and it annoys more toxic relatives.